Hello, Reverend Crystal Cox here. Life is good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. So I'm going to do a sermon here, and yes, my tongue is blue. I've been taking methylene blue. It's wonderful. Try it, look it up. I never know what the preacher's going to bring through, what spirit's going to bring through. I invoke spirit and I invoke the message, and with my intention of the highest of vibrations. Sometimes it's drumming, sometimes it's song. When in my spiritual work, I use Reverend Crystal Cox of Goddess Church. Some of you out there know Universal Church of Light. And we got that name for the people that weren't comfortable with my kind of spirituality, which I've studied spiritual stuff, everything I get my hands on my whole entire life. And I'm a witch, a fifth generation witch, a seer, a healer, a psychic. It's natural my whole life. I've embraced it. I talk to Jesus. I've had a close connection with Jesus my whole life. And my spirituality is between me and the Holy Spirit, and I use the term Goddess Church or All Faith Church. When I'm doing projects to bring in the light and invoke the light into dark areas, Universal Church of Light makes sense. So, the preacher that I channel or that comes through, the Spirit brings a message in for me, or for you, or for whoever it comes along. I have stuff that I've done 20 years ago that I trip over that is a message back to myself. You know, messages in a bottle, sending messages out to yourself. Okay, so let's burn some sage and clean the room that we're in and the room that you're in. And just banish all of that dark, negative energy. Sending it out. Out. Banish. 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 Raising the vibration of the room. Raising the vibration of the room that you're in. Let's move all that sage around. Putting the energy around me with the highest and best intentions to bring you the information with the highest and most integrity and cleanse all the energy around me. I call in Mother God, Father God, all available angels, Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, Kuan Yin, Brother Jesus, Mary Magdalene. All the goddesses, and of course, my spirit guides, with the intention of raising the vibration of Mother Earth and her people. And as I allow this energy to move through me, I set my intention to send out a vibration that is love, that is healing, that is awakening, and seeds that are out there, or solutions that are out there for whoever comes across them when they need them. They're available. And so it is done. Spirit, I ask that you watch over this sermon and that you bring in the highest integrity and energy to all who is affected by the vibration of this voice and energy, no matter who watches this video. My intention is to send out love and light, peace and healing and solutions to all the dark corners, to awaken those who wish to be awakened. I ask, Spirit, that you bring a blessing to all those souls stuck in darkness who cannot yet see the light. I ask that you awaken them gently and fill them with light and give them clarity so they do not have to have the proverbial tower moments in life. I ask that you heal their bodies, their minds, and their spirits Bring them laughter and joy and play, and help them to clear out every trigger and trauma, every shadow, and to know that they are co-creators with God, and that their belief is creating their reality. Help them to focus on the life that will bring them the most peace and joy. Help them to face their shadow, say their apologies where they need to, own their own ego, face every trigger and every trauma, clear out all the old, and bring in the new timelines that will bring them joy and love and peace for all eternity. And so it is. Amen. I invoke the power of the living God. I invoke the power of the living God. All the angels and archangels are here. Mother God and Father God are here. And we're going to bring in a message with the intention of raising the vibration of Mother Earth and her people. I believe in the power of the living God, and I believe in you. I believe you have the power to pull away from the hive and to be your individual self. Who is that self, and who's going to like me? Who's not going to like me? Who gives a good gosh darn who likes you? Once you hit rock bottom, and I mean the real rock bottom, where you got no money for food, where you got no way to get warm, you got no family, you got no friends, you lose everything you thought was to be life in this reality, then you get it. Then you get, who am I outside of who they think I am? Who am I outside of the college degrees and the classes and the everything that you chase in the modern life? Who are you outside of that? I stepped outside of the matrix in my 20s. I've never had a traditional job. I've never had a traditional relationship. I don't live in that world. However, I had a lot of ego work to do, a lot of shadow work to do. I thought I'd done it for a decade. I thought I'd done it so much. And then I realized, and it was big for me with the reality shift, noticing, right? From the sun going to, from the yellow sun to the white sun. A lot of little shifts that people refer to as the Mandela effect. I realized that I was shifting worlds and shifting between different versions of reality that nobody else mattered. I was projecting the reality, kind of like, in the movie Tomorrowland. And I was like, the only thing to do is to work on myself. Every trigger and every trauma, I dug in. I thought I'd done so much work, but I dug in for 10 years solid every single day in massive depression and, living in a car, being on the beach just freezing and being alone and, looking for warmth and trying to sit in a coffee shop for a minute to warm up and witnessing massive amounts of people coming and going. It was an amazing experience in retrospect, but in it was like a decade-long dark night of the soul. And in doing that, it was between me and the Holy Spirit, and I had one guide, a shamanic healer, my best friend, my family, who wasn't with me in the physical, but was available to me, long distance. And every time I got to another layer where I thought I was this better version of me, I would have an existential crisis, right? One thing after another. And so looking at every trigger and every trauma, looking at what is it that I believe when an emotion comes up, what do I believe? Or what must I believe to be feeling this emotion? And then you go, well, I must believe that this person has this power over me, or I must believe that this means that, or, whatever your issue is. And oftentimes we realize it wasn't even our belief. It was, someone in our lineage. And when we clean up the triggers and traumas and shadows in ourselves, we clean it in our family line, upward, downward, and in other timelines. And when I realized that I could shift realities and that different people in my life were not just a reflection of me, but like a literal projection, you know, like really holographic matrix stuff. And those of you who haven't seen it yet, you know, like what is, for some people it's the Bernstein Bears, you know, the Lion and the Lamb, if you build it they will come, Snow White. Geography, for me, I've seen buildings change, you know, from week to week that were, you know, 100 years old. You say you could be walking down a road for, you know, your whole life, and then all of a sudden there's a 100-year-old farmhouse that was never there. I remember Cryon Channelings by Lee Carroll. When the book 1 came out in 1993, I'd studied that. I've studied Cryon this whole time, but talking about you'd be walking over this path, and all of a sudden, you know, things are going to surface, right? Like archaeology stuff that they never found before, and that's because you're in a new reality, right? You look at what they're doing now. They're like, oh well. We missed those 6 planets. Oh, we missed that 3rd Earth. Oh, those 5 moons? Yeah, we just missed them. Oh, that extra organ you got? Well, you know, we just missed it. No, you shifted realities. And once you have something where you know for sure, and I have a photographic memory, I know for sure, and love taking photos. The sun was yellow in my world when I grew up. My heart was on the left. My kidneys were in the back. Okay? It was, Snow White was, who, you know, mirror, mirror on the wall. My church model was built on that saying in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. In this reality, it's if you build it, he will come. I don't gaslight myself. Well, I do in the areas of love and relationships, but everywhere else, I'm pretty much not gaslighting myself, right? I know what I know. And I had just had heart tests before I shifted too, so I seen right there on the ultrasound where my heart was, and I was in a reality where it was different. So I'm like, well, what's real then? Well, the only thing that's real is me. What's my problem, right? What's my shadow work, right? And you follow your life purpose by following your highest excitement. Your highest excitement. That spirit showing you what's on your mission, what you're to be doing to be on your mission. And what do I mean by highest excitement? You know, if you study Bashar, Daryl Ank channeling Bashar, I've studied that, well, probably for the last 10 years. Before that, Elon was channeling Bashar, E-L-O-N, Bashar. Really good information from the 90s. And, of course, then there's Abraham Hicks, and, you know, some others we'll talk about later. But in your highest excitement, it means that if you feel excited about going right or over going left, go right. Even if everybody tells you you should go left, right? What feels exciting to you? Now, it could be which book's more exciting, which phone call, which event. It's not just like, oh, I might have more fun at that. It's about being your authentic self, right? Well, my mom and my sister and my friends and everybody might like me better if I go to this event, but I'm more excited to go to this event, but none of them are into that, right? So following your highest excitement, no matter the pressure, no matter the guilt trips, no matter what comes in on your life, and you can trust that the resulting reality is one you want to live. When you're talking to someone, if you speak your truth, no matter how much it hurts you, no matter how much you know it's going to disappoint them because it's your truth, no matter how badly you wish you were a version of yourself that they loved or were in love with or accepted or valued, if you're not speaking your truth, you're creating more of a reality that is like their reality and their version of you. Every time you speak your truth and go, no, I don't like that. No, I don't want to be treated that way. No, I don't want to be talked to that way. I don't want to be, devalued. I don't want to be, whatever it is to you that person's doing to you. Each thing that you can say, no, regardless of how much it hurts you, because, and why does it hurt to speak our truth, right? It's been my whole lifetime thing, because I was punished a lot as a child for telling the truth. I'm punished a lot as an adult for telling the truth. So we're afraid to tell the truth because we're afraid of the repercussions, right? Afraid to out the family molester. Afraid that they're not going to believe us. right? And it's kind of a life theme. But every area of your life where you can speak this truth, the resulting reality will be further and further towards a life you actually want to be living. And you have to clear out all the old to let the new come in, right? If you're continuing to go to family dinners with the family molester, everybody's oppressing you, like, oh, Thanksgiving, and everybody's talking this and that, why do you go? Well, I love them. Well, that's not love. That's codependency. That's trigger. That's trauma. Let's have Thanksgiving with my family who I don't like, I don't respect, I don't value, they're not in my life at all, but let's have dinner with them. You know, you see people complaining around every holidays that they have to spend time with their family. I don't do that. I wish so many things I just wave a magic wand and so many of you out there would be able to step into something that I spent decades into. You know, I kept trying, like with my dad and stuff, I kept trying to be their version of me. I kept trying to, you know, do things for them. Well, they didn't approve of me being a lesbian. They didn't approve of my spirituality. They didn't approve of anything. But you know what? When I got a real estate company and I was a millionaire, oh, they approved of me then. Right? You got people that come into your life when you have money, but aren't there at all when you're rock bottom. Don't be around those people. No way. It is soul crushing. Right? And there's a lot of them out there. So every time that you can speak your own truth, and it doesn't matter if it's over, like, you know, I don't really want to eat those noodles, right? Like, but, oh, well, I'll eat them because I don't want to hurt my mom or my wife or my girlfriend or my, you know, adult children's feelings. So I'll eat something I don't like. I'll go somewhere I don't like. I'll do something I don't like to make them feel better about their version of me while I'm wanting to die and killing my own soul. Or getting a stomach ache in that case, right? I'm doing things that I don't want. If, you know, I always give the example of strawberries over blueberries, right? If if people are telling you you should eat the blueberries, but you really want to eat the strawberries, but you do what people say you should, yeah, life's okay, right? You're going to be like, oh, yes, you've got some sustenance and blueberries, you know, very good for you. But you're not following your highest excitement. And every time you follow your highest excitement, you create a vibration in your field that draws to you things that are exciting to you. Every time you choose the option you don't want and you think it's better for you, or I'm on a diet, or someone's not going to like me or approve of me, or I got to put this on my resume, or this is better for me, or that's better for me, you create a vibration that draws to you settling, lack, poverty mentality that, you know, is all about earth. Like, who cares what your career was? When you're dead, who cares? The only thing you take with you, and I died and I know, is love. Love. You forget. I have shifted so many timelines through my healing, especially the last 10 years. I don't remember road names. I don't remember people, oh, you're just getting old and dementia. No. I'm not. I'm very, very sharp, and I remember things. I'm dissolving old realities. So when someone comes in, so say I have, relationships, like exes or something, come in, and I've left because I hadn't dealt with all my shadow work or my triggers or traumas with the ex or whatever. So the ex comes in and is like, oh, hey, remember when we went down, and names these places, and I can't remember them. It's not about my memory. It's that I've shifted to a different reality. But now here I am going back to this reality to dabble in this energy. So obviously I still have things that I need to clear up in my own energy field so that I don't attract that again. So we literally moved to a reality where that didn't exist. And it's, many of you out there might be like, oh my gosh, she's so full of it. And it doesn't matter. Once you know for sure, you know, like I studied the Bible with my grandma when I was young. I know it was the lion and the lamb. It was the lion and the lamb. Now it's the wolf and the lamb. When I first started studying the Mandela effect stuff about 10 years ago, it was 2016, I studied dozens and dozens of scriptures, and I followed people who, different biblical scriptures that, you know, like the wine skins, that there was a whole bunch of them that shifted besides the lion and the lamb. And I followed them all, and it was the King James Bible that was shifting. And I'm like, well, why is that? And well, the Queen commissioned the King James Bible. And so I really got into studying it, and studying how we're shifting timelines and what new anatomy was changing. And I was following everything about the Mandela effect and studying timeline shifts and interdimensional for years. And then it all kind of come down to, well, you're here to live a physical reality. You got to do the work, right? You got to look at every trigger and every trauma. There's nothing to do out there. It's all to do in here. And so everything that triggers me, that I look at why, and I heal it, and I get layers and layers of ego and trauma off, I'm able to emerge my true self more and more. And my passion, I follow my passion every day. And my passion is bringing light to the dark. And what I'm working on now, that is my passion. My passion is writing. My passion is energy work. My passion is, I'm a street preacher. And how I do that, I wandered around for decades, right? I was in a 16-year relationship. I didn't go, really running around. It was all, her all the time, and she drove places, and we, and after that, I was on the move, right? So instead of just homebodying and, at the ranch or whatever, I was always going. And Spirit would lead me. And no matter where I'd go, I worked a 13-hour shift out here at Fort Worden Security. And I got off my shift, and right at that exact moment, this couple come up out of the woods. Now, this happens to me all across the world. I make myself available to answer prayers for God, if I can. And so, I don't know, there was quite an age difference between them. And there was this couple, they were married, they were from Oregon. They were cold. She was really cold. She was not prepared for the weather. They were really in a bad way. And they didn't have their money for a couple weeks, so they come here. They got themselves in quite a predicament. So, like I said, just getting off my shift security. I ran raccoons off all night of one of the Fort Worden events. It was just beautiful. It's beautiful to walk around for 13 hours in the middle of the night by that big blimp hangar at Fort Worden. Anyway, so I took him to breakfast. I took him to Goodwill and bought him some shoes and some warm clothes. And then I took him to the bus, and I got him a bus ticket back to Oregon. And God did that. Met a gal at Safeway one time, because I know, right? When you're on the homeless circuit, you know everybody. You know what's going on. You know who needs this. You know who needs that. Whatever. And so I just walked over to her, and she was different. She was new. She was a different face here. And I'm like, oh, so, what's your story? And I handed her some money, to get her story or whatever. She's like, well, I come up here to meet this guy online. And she was a Native American woman. And she said he, that he was a no-show, or he was mean to her, something was weird. And so she's just going to stand there for however many days it takes her to get the money to get back, like a 4-hour bus drive. So I gave her the money for the bus and took her to the bus, and she left. And quite, I'd just be sitting on the beach, and someone will walk over to me and sit down and tell them that God told them to talk to me. And I'll know exactly what to say to them. And I've been doing this for decades, and so I call it street preacher. I'll come around a corner and someone's crying, and I'll talk to them. I did it in Port Townsend all the time. You run into people and you talk about the moon, or you talk about their family, or you just take their photos and make them laugh. And it's a one moment in time frequency exchange. And that's my spiritual work. And I do energy healing. And for the people who are willing to do the work, I was willing to do the work. And it was not comfortable. Lots of tears, lots of depression, lots of anger, to look at every trigger and every trauma and really face it. And so I work with some people on that, only the people that are willing to do it. Whereas any sort of trigger comes up, we look at it and we say, well, what must you believe to feel that way? We look at the trigger, and is this something you really believe? Because when a trigger hits your pain body, and I know I've been there, like I said, your pain body gets so big, you just want that person out of your life because you think it's them. They're the problem. But first of all, you drew them into your life. You drew whatever the circumstance is. But your triggers and your traumas are always yours. They're never anybody else's. And so I help people to talk it through. And I'm psychic, and I work with their guides, and I work with my guides. And I always know what needs to be said. And I do this work even with my own healer. It's fascinating. And I don't know where it's going to lead, right? I'll be like, now what was that road on when you were a kid that you lived on? I'll have a thought, and it'll breadcrumb me and lead me to a trail to untangle their trauma. And we do it layer by layer by layer by layer. Sitting in depression, when feelings come up of loss and depression, sitting and feeling it in your body, but not putting a story to it, right? Not going over it and over it again. You know, they say all time is at once. So when we go over in our mind, well, what if this relationship could have been? Well, what if I'd have done this? Well, what if I'd have done that? Well, what if this person or that person would do this? We future trip and we past trip. We create our reality in the radically present now. So when you're future and past tripping, you're not creating reality now. You're time traveling. But not only that, you're making that a reality again. Why don't you change the past? Oh, I must say it how it is because that's a lie. I did a lot of work where I studied Raymond Grace, a dowser, R-A-Y-M-O-N, Grace. This dowser kind of looks like Willie Nelson. And changing memories. And his work was fascinating to the degree of people completely crippled, going back and changing the memory of the event that crippled them and having a miracle timeline shift. A lot of the stuff you see that is psychic surgery, that is timeline shifts. You're working with people and you just shift into a reality where they don't have cancer, where they don't have this or that. Just literally shift to a different reality. And so I did a lot of work where I'd go back into some of the angry, abusive things my dad would say to me, and I would pretend it was different, visualize it different, imagine it different, until I could conjure up the feeling that it was different. And in this work, you really can't change memories. And when you have a radical, awakening, where you face your triggers, you face your trauma, you are honest with people, you have integrity, and by honest with people, I don't mean say what they want you to say. I mean honest about who you are. You literally have a reality shift to where you had a different past. And you're on a different timeline. And you have to be willing to let go of the people in your life that are not of your highest and best good. If you're like, well, I'm still going to keep talking to my mom. I know she makes me feel like, really bad, and it's triggering and it's trauma, but she's my mom and I love her, right? That's not love, right? That's creating more mediocre. So in your love life, everywhere else in your life, you're going to create that same thing. Whereas if you say, I don't want to be treated that way. I don't want that person in my life. And you go no contact. Whether it's your mom, your adult children, never mean underage children. Your father, your adult children is shocking to me what I've seen. But anybody that you feel that you're obligated to for any reason, you're not. And you'll have a different version of them in your life once you change yourself. Once you are true with yourself. I went no contact with my mom about 5 years ago. I should have a long time ago, right? I was an only child. The emotional trauma that she put on me, the PTSD, the always afraid to tell the truth, always, gonna get in trouble, always walking on eggshells, never know when she's gonna blow, never know when she's gonna be upset. My gosh, this day she's happy and she's mom and she's loving me, and this day I don't like you and she won't give me a reason and she won't communicate, she's just volatile or she cuts me off, right? I don't want that in my life, and I worked so long in clearing it from my field so that I don't draw that into my life. And then when I draw that into my life and my own interpersonal relationships, I have to look at it and go, okay, well, what do I need to still work on in my own triggers and traumas, my own shadow work, in order to clear that so I don't attract that to me? And I'll talk more in another video about what is the shadow work, right? Because basically, it's just being willing to look at it, right? And when I work with people, this isn't arrogant and this isn't ego. I know what they need to do. I can see it, and Spirit shows me how to help them untangle. But most people shut down, they run away, they don't want to face it, they don't want to look at it. And we do energy healing. You know, it's not really Reiki. I'm a Reiki master, but it's not about Reiki to me. It's a shamanic healing. It's all these different methods learned in Ireland and Hawaii and Montana and all over, and the Spirit has downloaded and brought to me the things that you know, because our energy field's like 6 feet out. There's so much here. Everything that happens in our body happens in our energy field first, which is why I do the work with the tuning forks. And so you can come into the field and you can just feel that. I mean, just amazing, right? And you can, like if someone's back's all like this or whatever, you can open up that energy. Fascinating, Kirlian photography. Taking photos of people that have had their, legs, lost their leg to gangrene or whatever. Now, when they cut the leg off, they tied it up behind them, right? So people would always feel like they're sitting on their leg, right? And so in the energy work, you can bring that energy down, because Kirlian photography shows us that it's the field that creates the body. You cut a leaf in half and you do Kirlian photography and you see the whole field of the leaf. Right? You don't lose the energy field of your leg just because you lose your leg. It's fascinating. So when you bring that energy down, it's in alignment. Same thing with stress. Same thing with, your back all humped up or whatever's going in, moving out that energy. And so I do that kind of work. I do tarot, but I do tarot in a way of psychic readings. Like, I don't do traditional tarot of what archetype necessarily the tarot cards mean. And a lot of times I have to look that part up. But psychic readings, when I sit down with people, the minute they come into the church, and I've had a church downtown Port Townsend, I have one out here on the highway in Hadlock. The minute people walk in, I see it, right? They've already given intention by walking in to a place that's like psychic readings, tarot, they want that. I had people here once. This one woman, she drove on Mother's Day. I think it was 2021. She drove 2 hours to, she was headed to Port Townsend. And Spirit, she asked for her husband for the day to just spend the day with the kids, because that's what she wanted for Mother's Day. And she wanted to just go to Port Townsend. She just had to go to Port Townsend. She pulled into my church, and she come in, and she spent 2 hours, and I did energy healing. I talked to her about things that she wasn't talking to anybody about in her life. There was a lot going on with her, and she was not able to tell anybody. And give her all these psychic readings and energy healing. And then when she left, she's like, it's kind of late. I think I'll head back home. So she came here only to meet me, but she didn't know me. I never saw her again. It was just a spiritual appointment. And that's the kind of stuff I do. I get really high and happy and excited to just help people. Like events downtown at Port Townsend. Like, I just go help them set up the event. Never know names, just go along and, just walking down the street when it's delivery time, Port Townsend, just holding the door for every delivery person. And I love that energy and I love that exchange, and that's part of my spiritual work. And yes, Spirit has called me to do spiritual warrior work and bringing the dark to accountability, bringing the light to the dark. It's not about what I want the governments of man to do and to be that. I don't value the governments of man. I value God. I value my connection to this world and the reality I project. I value my own triggers and traumas and being the best version of me I can every single day. And so in my anti-corruption work, the idea is to bring the truth to the lie, the light to the dark. And then what the people out there do with it is theirs. It's not about saying, okay, here's this, now you got to take this action because this happened. It's just about showing it happened, showing the truth of what happened, and bringing the light of the truth as we move into New Earth. In New Earth, where we're at now, everything, as Spirit tells us, been channeling, follow our right on channelings, been saying it for quite a while, we're here. Everything's available. Anything you could imagine is available in life right now, right? You can conjure up anything you want. I mean, money's just some man-made, gibberish, right? It's paper. It's digital. It's not real. The only thing that's real is your consciousness and love and God. So you can energetically move to a reality where you have money, where you don't have money, based on your thoughts and your projections. Once I started shifting my belief, things just show up. Oh, here's this. Here's that. You don't necessarily need money, right? You need the thing. Here's a new car. I had someone offer to give me a house once. Okay, well, here you go, right? There is an infinite amount of possibilities out there, and it can all come in to you. Forget this terminology. I'll tell you about it another time. It's basically like all of this energy is there. It talks about, it gives the example of a hose where the water's in it. Say it's a 100-mile long hose. But when you go to the end of it to get the water out, you're not getting the water that's put in at the beginning, right? You're getting the water that was always there. And that's how reality works. It's all there. It's a matter when you're the right frequency to accept it. When you're the right frequency to tune into that reality. You're on your radio in the car, right? And you tune into the rock and roll channel, right? Well, that doesn't mean that, the country music channel, the religious channel, the talk show channels, they're all there too. But you're tuning into the one that you want to listen to based on a frequency. I learned a lot about, I don't know why my nose is itching. I learned a lot about the spectrum when I was doing investigative blogger work for Philip Falcone. I was like, are you kidding me? You guys sell spectrum? Right? Yeah. 94.5. Right, here's a spectrum for radio. They're selling the air, right? They're selling the frequency and the spectrum in the air. Well, let's see. I own this frequency in the air, and I own this frequency in the air, and then I'm going to capture it, and I'm going to sell it back to you. What? Right? Light squared, because he was trying to bring in internet for everybody. Corruption shut him down. So whatever reality you tune into is the reality you create, literally, physically manifest in your life. And you do that by your focus and your belief. So Spirit says all realities are available right now. It's just a matter of, what do I believe is available? What do I believe I can have? What does my self-worth say I'm worthy of having? What am I willing to do? And by willing to do, I mean following my excitement. And so right now, what I'm doing is exciting to me. It feels good in my body. It's invigorated. I have like a supernatural energy and strength and stamina to do it. I'm guided by God. I'm given laws and ideas, and Spirit just floods me with things, and I know that's my mission. And it brings me joy and peace, and it helps me to completely forget about depression and loss and why bother with this life? Every day is the same, right? Focusing on something you're passionate about, it doesn't matter what it is. You create the vibration of highest excitement, and you draw more to you what is of your highest excitement, right? Every mediocre you settle for, every lie you settle for, you draw more of that to you. Every person you settle to give your body to that you're not having fun with, you settle and you create that in your field, and then you draw that into you. And people who they go and they chase relationships for, I don't know, maybe sexual gratification or whatever, but or even like long-term marriages, because this is kind of a common thing between both. They just want to, in the marriage, they might want the house, they might don't want to disturb the kids, and the other they might just want sexual gratification, but they're giving their soul, so the passionate life that they really want, if they could have anything they wanted and they have completely financially free and they could conjure up any person in their life that they wanted, they wouldn't settle for that, right? They'd want it all maybe in the same person or in different. They wouldn't be like, yeah, the person talks to me this way, treats me this way, devalues me this way. I'm like, ha ha ha, you know, I'm like, I'm being phony with them or whatever because I want them to want me. I want them to validate me. I want them to think I'm sexy. I want them to buy me things. I want them to, their version of me. I want to be their version of me so they want me so I feel better about being me, right? And we all experience this at some point in our life. I don't do that now. And the sooner you can get out of that, the better, right? And it's cool if you're being your true self. But if you're like, oh, I like that, that's great. You know, we're laughing at jokes that you don't like just because you want someone to validate you, then or keep the peace. That's not all you're doing. You're literally creating physical reality and timelines that are being drawn to you in real life, in physical life. Buildings, cars, people, like the physical reality shifts. Versions of people shift based on all of that kind of stuff. You know, where if some guy's like, you know, you should smile more, or like says something and you laugh and it's just this joke and you're like, yeah, don't get it. Oh yeah, it's because you're fucking stupid and you're this and you're that, and you'd be like, okay, see you later, bye. Or if you're like, that was funny, and you pretend to get it, you create a frequency of more of that in your life. And of course, that's just one example, right? It could be, you know, your professor, your teacher, your boss. You can use your mind to draw anything to you that you want. And now that we're in New Earth, it's all quantum, right? But it's also the highest of integrity. That's what we're moving into in the money system. There's not going to be any more human trafficking. There's not going to be any more dark and dirty deeds. The consciousness that's here now is going to not let dark energies be funded by the system, right? And if you think about it, right, paper money, they made up. And then it wasn't even backed by gold, right? And then, you know, I've been a real estate broker owner for 25 years. The magic of the mortgage, right? You know, back in the heyday, you put down this amount, you just state your income, and voila, you've manifested millions to buy a property, right? All digital, right? And on this digital air, the bank's making interest in, you know, it's all a system that is made up in digital. And what we've moved into now in New Earth is instead a high integrity system. So you can't be nefarious and dark, and you have to do your shadow work or you won't get to that other level. So all realities are available now in this new template, this higher timeline. But we have to face our own beliefs. We have to face our own shadow in order to move into that. And so, what do you want? You know, instead of being like, you know, I'm going to go get a job for $10, $20, $30, $50 an hour so I can sell my soul and slave for someone else. Why don't you sit down and do what you're passionate about that makes you feel happy, and let the happy vibration be every day, and let it draw to you opportunities, ideas, and not have to repress yourself because, well, I gotta take care of the kids, and I gotta take care of this, and I gotta take care of that. You teach your kids how to be happy by you being miserable? You teach your kids to have a good life and to do by you being miserable? To feed them, to clothe them? You know, I've met so many people on all my different travels in Hawaii, Ireland, all over, where they just take their kids and they just travel with them. They homeschool traveling. These smart children that are homeschooled, that are, you know, have other children and friends, but they're not repressed by the indoctrination of the school system. And you teach your kids how to love by the love you allow. You teach your kids how to communicate with their partner and everyone in their life, how you communicate with your partner in front of them. They read your field. What is your relationship with your parent? You teach them how to their relationship with other people. Are you tolerating an abusive parent in your life? Are you tolerating a parent that gaslights you and guilt trips you and, you know, does all this weird stuff to you? because you're like, oh, love them, then you're teaching your child to stay in a situation where they're being verbally, physically, financially, emotionally abused, but I love them, I should stay. Right? You're training them of that. What you're allowing in your life, your kids will allow into their life. Your version of money will be their version of money. That'll be their base. And yeah, kids break out and do their own thing, but that's the base, and the base trauma and trigger that lives in them. Right? So if you're like, I'm free, we could go to the beach, we could go to here, we could go to there. We don't have to be in this rigid role, and we don't have to have this certain life. If that's what you like, and it really is joyous for you, and you're creating a vibration of joy in your home, that's great. That's not something I liked. I was always into different things. I just get on my motorcycle and head down to a 90-mile lake that I lived on, and build a fire and cook some food, and listen to my, I used to like Psalms and Matthew, and talk to God, even when I was a child. And I was always eccentric and different, and my cousins didn't want to play with me. And it's funny because some of my cousins would be like, they just want to sit there and read. And later I'd be the one that just want to sit there and read. But, call it an outsider, call it whatever, but I was true to me the best I could be. And then I had my mother's stuff, my grandmother's stuff, triggers and traumas, sexual abuse traumas, emotional abuse traumas, financial abuse traumas, physical abuse traumas, and it was my job to clear that. And I've been doing that for the last 30 fucking years. And the last 10 years, every minute of every day. And right now I do it every minute of every day. No matter what I'm doing online. I have a trigger come up, I have a PTSD panic attack, I have something come up, I sit down and I feel it. And try not to put too many words to it. Try not to just keep repeating the words. It's funny, the other day something caught me. I was running errands and this thought caught me. And I was starting to get anxiety and starting to feel upset and just getting really rattled. And this song come on the radio, and it went over and over and over the same words, and it was annoying me, so I shut it off. And when I shut it off, I heard the words, stop the thought, stop the feeling. Stop the thought, stop the feeling. Stop the thought, stop the feeling. So that's where we're going to leave it today. I invoke the power of the living God, and I ask a blessing on you, and highest and best of all, I love you. God bless you. God bless you. Until we talk again. Bye for now.